Hi, I'm Lorraine from Bootcamp Ireland, and today we're going to look at all the different nutrition options and the food options that people have, taking into consideration that people are time poor, and that's actually a really important thing to notice. What we've done is we haven't encouraged you all to go and make your hummus and go and grow your vegetables in the garden. We've tried to make it really simple by using products that you can get in your local convenience store. So here we are with Helen Corrigan, our Bootcamp Nutritionist, and she's going to go through everything from the start of the day right down to the end of the day, and even some little snacks in between as well. So take it away, Helen.
Okay, so as Lorraine said, what we're going to focus on is really simple, really easy, but at the same time very healthy meals for you to incorporate over the course of the day. We're going to work through the day, so starting with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then looking at snacks. The basic principles for healthy eating are three things. If you want to keep your energy over the course of the day, you want to eat complex carbohydrates rather than simple carbohydrates. So simple carbohydrates are anything that is sugar, contains sugar, or breaks down into sugar very quickly. So things like white bread, white pasta, and white rice. And instead, you want to choose the complex carbohydrates, which are the brown, whole grain varieties of those. So oats, wholemeal pasta, brown rice, etc. So we're going to incorporate that recommendation as well as the other two. The second recommendation is to eat little and often. So you want to have 3 main meals and a couple of snacks during the day. The third thing is to have a combination of complex carbohydrate and protein. So that's going to keep your energy stable for longer. Okay, firstly, for breakfast, a great start to the day, particularly during the winter months, is the typical Irish breakfast porridge. What I would recommend is that you combine the porridge with some nuts, some seeds, to give you that bit of protein, which is the only thing missing in the porridge, and also, if you like, to add some fresh or frozen fruit to make it really, really tasty. Another option, if you don't have the time or you don't fancy porridge, is muesli. And again, just make sure that you get one that's sugar-free with plenty of nuts and seeds in it, or you can add some extra nuts and seeds to it, as well as some fresh fruit if you like. A third breakfast option, which is really, really fantastic and it'll keep you going for, best part of the day, is to have some eggs with some whole grain bread. So for example, you can scramble a couple of eggs or boil a couple of eggs and have some nice whole grain bread with it, and that'll keep you going for a good while. Okay, so for lunch, one of the best things that you can have, particularly again during the winter months, is soup. Now ideally it would be homemade soup that you'd make yourself at home. Plenty of veg, maybe some sort of protein again, so beans or lentils or chickpeas, and that's really, really easy to make. You know what's in it, it's just pure goodness, and that's it. So that is what I would recommend. Really easy, really quick to do, and then you can have it for several days over the week. The other option, if you don't have the time or you don't enjoy cooking, is to get some pre-made soup, but what I'd recommend is you go for something that's as natural and homemade looking as possible. So something that when you're looking at the ingredients on the package, that it's food that you recognise, that it's ingredients that you could imagine having in your cupboard at home, not some sort of weird names that you wouldn't have a clue what they are, because that's probably when they're added artificial sweeteners, additives and so on, that you want to avoid. Another great option, again a very convenient, quick option, is to do something like a homemade sandwich, so some whole grain bread or maybe a whole grain pitta bread, and adding in again some sort of protein, so maybe chicken or tuna or hummus, and then adding in maybe some salad or some roast veg as well. Okay, so for dinner, a really handy, typical thing to do is a pasta dish. Now, a lot of people would do that for dinner, particularly after exercise in the evening when you want something quick. What I would recommend for this, though, is that you go for the whole grain pasta rather than the white pasta, because whole grain pasta still contains all the fibre and all the vitamins and minerals which are lost in a white pasta. So start off with a nice whole grain pasta, maybe a tomato sauce or a tomato based pasta sauce, and then add in loads of veg. So even if you just chop up some tomatoes, some mushrooms, some onions and so on, that can be a fantastic addition. And then finally, don't forget your protein. And a great way to include protein in a pasta dish without necessarily having to rely on meat is to have something like a tin of maybe kidney beans or chickpeas that you can add into it. And they're really quick, they're already cooked, so it'll only take you a couple of extra minutes to cook it up within the pasta. Another dinner idea which I absolutely love, and it's really, really tasty, is roast veg and feta cheese. And what you do for that is you get a load of vegetables, so this way you can easily get about 5 or 6 portions of veg in one meal. You get things like courgettes, onions, tomatoes, mushrooms, whatever you fancy really. Roast them in the oven for about half an hour or so. Then get a block of feta cheese, chop it up, sprinkle it over the roast veg, throw them back in the oven for another 10 minutes, and then you have, I promise you, the tastiest dinner you'll possibly ever have. Really, really healthy, really tasty. And the handy thing about this is, if you've got some left over, you can use it in the next day's lunch, so you can stuff some roast veg, maybe with some hummus, in a pita bread and have a really tasty, really healthy lunch the next day. A final option, again really, really quick, really healthy, is something like a baked potato, which you can of course bake in the oven. It'll take around about an hour, or if you're in a rush, throw it in the microwave for a few minutes, and then again don't forget your protein with it. So add in some beans, some chicken, some tuna, something like that, and maybe have a bit of a salad on the side. When it comes to salad, which you can have, as I said, with dinner or maybe with lunch, if you're going to make a salad dressing, or if you're going to have a salad dressing rather, make your own. And make it up with something simple like a little bit, like maybe a teaspoon or a dessertspoonful of olive oil and the same amount of balsamic vinegar. Season it slightly, and that's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and it's not going to have the sort of saturated fats that you can often get in the processed salad dressings. So that's 3 options, really healthy, really tasty, and again, really quick for dinner. And for those of you who don't like cooking at all, something that's really simple is some whole grain toast with something like a tin of beans or a tin of tuna. Recent research into the dietary habits of the Irish population have found that almost 100% of those of us who do snack on high fat, high sugar, high salt foods. So if you want to improve your diet very, very easily and very, very simply, just swap the unhealthy snacks for some healthy alternatives. Again, the same principles as for the main meals apply. So you want to combine a complex carbohydrate and a protein. So for example, you could have something like a piece of fruit and a small palmful of nuts, or a piece of fruit, maybe chop it up with some natural yogurt and maybe sprinkle some seeds on top of it. Or another option is something like an oat cake or a couple of oat cakes, some rice cakes or some corn cakes with something like some hummus or some nut butter. Okay, so finally, for those of you who have a bit of a sweet tooth or like a bit of dessert after dinner, what I'd recommend is going again for something like some fresh fruit with some plain, natural, preferably organic yogurt. So again, when you're going for your yogurt, just look at the ingredients and make sure there's nothing else added in like sugar or artificial sweeteners. And maybe sprinkle some seeds on top as well. That would be really, really tasty and sort of give you that kind of that sweet fix after dinner. And then of course for you chocolate lovers out there, what I would recommend is that you go for the dark chocolate. So something that's at least 70%, if not more, and enjoy it. But again, of course, in moderation.
So Helen, that was fantastic. Thanks very much. I hope you all got a lot of information from that. I'm delighted anyway because I'm still seeing chocolate on the menu, even if it is 70% cocoa, which I have tried and it's absolutely gorgeous. So for breakfast, I'm going to have porridge. I'm going to have some fruit, some yogurt and some brown toast as well, all good. For lunch, I'm going to have my soup. For my dinner, I'm going to have that fabulous recipe that Helen just gave us. I've never heard that before. So we've got our roast vegetables. I know that when I run in from Bootcamp, throw on the vegetables, have my shower, come back down, vegetables will be ready with their feta cheese on top. And then for my snacks, happy out. So Helen, have you any final top tips for us?
Well, I'd just say make sure that you're drinking loads of water during the day. Go for plain water or herbal teas and try to keep the coffee and tea down to a minimum because they're actually dehydrating. Make sure you get as much fruit and veg in as possible. So ideally what I tend to recommend is having at least 1 portion of fruit and or veg with every meal and every snack, and then not only will you reach your 5 a day, but you'll probably easily exceed it. And then finally, don't forget to combine your complex carbohydrate with your protein to keep your energy going over the course of the day.
Fantastic. So eat healthy everyone, and we'll see you out there.